Okay, so today I talked to our curate. As I mentioned in one of my previous blogs, Lucy thought it would be a good idea to talk to him because, amongst other things, before he was ordained, he helped people talk about their vocation ministry. And he's worked in theatre before. And of course, he's just gone through it being curate. So it was really good. We sat down in Cafe Nero and talked for probably an hour and a half, something like that. I wasn't really keeping track. But it's really nice, I told him my faith story, the sort of potted version of what I wrote in my other blogs even. And I sort of explained my sort of step-by-step thing that it seems to have happened so far. And the fact that I've had he picked up on the fact that I used the phrase road to Damascus moments. I've had sort of moments of epiphany. I had that have sort of come out from nowhere. So I want to buy a cross. Okay. So I did that. And then what was the next one? I'm gonna go to church. Okay. So I did. And then it was I want to get confirmed. Oh, okay. Then, of course, last September, it was, now you're going to look into ministry. Pardon? What? Where'd that come from? I thought that was going to happen years to come, right? So, I explained all that. And, I described how I've been feeling sort of slightly overwhelmed and very anxious about the fact that it's a bit messy. There's no sort of plan. There's no sort of step-by-step that I feel like I can follow. And he sort of affirmed, yeah, it is messy, I'm just going to read from my notes in my spiritual diary here, because I don't remember things. My memory's full of holes. So he picked up on this road to Damascus thing. And one of the nice things we talked about was the idea that when Paul has his actual road to Damascus moment, the voice crying from the heavens goes, Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me? And Ivan picked up on the God calling you by name. And he sort of asked me, do you feel like called by name? And I said, well, not my name as such, but every time I've had one of those moments, it's felt like it's connected somewhere really, like my soul was being called, like it was a deep, like my true self being called thing. So I suppose if it was articulated, it would be my name. But I also sort of described, he sort of agreed that it's somehow it's a bigger thing. It's not just my name that I know myself by, but it's a calling to more of myself than I know. God is calling me, and God knows me better than I do myself. So every time I've had one of those moments, it's opened up almost part of myself and pushed me in a direction so that part of myself can grow. So yeah, it's calling me my name, but also God calling me, my innermost self, that I don't even know the depths of. And the other thing from the Damascus story that we talked about was afterwards, when he has to carry on his journey and find the person who's going to show him whatever, he's blind. So he's stumbling and has to trust in those helping him and this experience he's had. And I was like, oh yeah, so that's basically how I feel. I feel like I'm blind and stumbling. I feel like I've mentioned before in a blog that I feel like my discernment process, my calling is like a smog on my life. So that's like a clouded vision. It's like, I'm stumbling, and as I said before, part of the anxiety is because I'm stumbling. I feel like I'm going to get things wrong. But you've got to the messy discernment process involves a lot of trust and faith. One of the other things he said about the discernment process was it's like train tracks, right? So you've got one track which is the process itself, the things you're doing, the people you're talking to, all the hoops you've got to go through and the forms and that sort of stuff. Now the other track that's happening at the same time as you're going along is your inner life. So your relationship with God and growing within yourself spiritually, etc. And I think I definitely recognise that feeling of, well, there's all this shit I've got to do, but there's also the stuff I've got to work on. And that's quite tough, certainly for me anyway, that I don't articulate my spirituality very well, which means, and I find it very hard to understand things unless I can articulate it. Anyway, so the two things he really wanted me to do were think about, what does it mean to be a priest? This is going to be apparently the question of the process. Like, I'm going to be asked it many times in many contexts and different varieties of it. And the key, so going back to the whole I'm worried about doing something wrong thing, the key is, it's not just there's the answer and you have to find the answer on your own of what does it mean a priest? Here's the answer. No, it's church turning to you and going, okay, what does it mean to be a priest for you? What do you bring? What do I bring? What do I, Georgina, bring to being a priest? Which is, what was the phrase he used? Counterintuitive. Because intuitively you want to go to the church and go, you tell me, you're the church, what does it mean to be a priest? And they're flipping it and they're asking you, what can you bring to be a priest? What's your understanding? This is a partnership, this is a two-way process. What do you want? And there was a great moment where we were talking about my stage management and how it's very much been part of my process for me, really. It's been part of my calling and my vocation to stage management, I feel like was one of the steps within my this thing of my calling. And my understanding of stage management has very much influenced my understanding of what it means to be a priest. One of the things that we talked about was there's no set path to becoming one or the other. There's no sort of answer to what does it mean to be a state manager. The same way that there's no right answer to be what does it mean to be a priest. Yes, both have these sort of lists of characteristics and general duties and that sort of thing, but there's no set path to becoming one. You can come at them both from all sorts of routes. And you've only got these sort of vague starter guidelines, but, there's different types of people, there's different types of contexts in which to be a priest and a state manager. So that's one of the things I can bring, is my understanding of that. So I'm going on at this point. Second thing, I'll finish soon, I promise. Second thing is, so I need to think about what does it mean to be a priest? One. Second thing, I need to find the joy and excitement of the discernment process underneath the anxiety and the overwhelming sensation. So in the smog, in the clouded, blinded, stumbling state, and I do catch glimpses of it, I do get excited. Before he said that, I had mentioned, I still am excited that I'm doing this. I've always looked forward to going into the sort of, okay, now's the time. And as much as, I didn't feel ready, I did not feel capable, when I got smack in the back of the head in September, I'm still excited. I'm still glad to be doing it. Yeah, it's not when I thought I'd be doing it, but it's, if you're anticipating doing something in your life, I mean, there's almost a sort of, there's a fun to the fact that I am doing it earlier. It's such a different, it feels like a different thing as a young person coming at it. I don't know, maybe that's just me being naive. But anyway, And to the point, very quickly. One, the process is actually its own thing. Whatever the outcome, I shouldn't sort of see it as a means to an end. It is a journey with God that I should take something from anyway. And it's a very Anglican reaction that I've had of not liking the messiness, not liking God in a box, not liking having the answers there. And yeah, so it's very Anglican. So I'm definitely reverting to type. I said that I didn't feel capable. He picked up on that as well. And it was very nice of him. He said, you seem a very capable person, so it's not a surprise that that's caused you anxiety. But God does that. God stirs things up. Look at Jonah, who just ran away. And God was like, no. And then Moses. I'm reading the Bible every day. Sorry, I'm still going on. At the moment, and I just love the conversations between Moses and God. Like, it's just like, no, why? Stop it. Moses is so argumentative, and God's still there, like, no, keep going. You haven't got a choice in this. And I said in response to Ivan, I said, well, yeah, we follow a political rebel, who, shook things up and, shook the world. So that was irrevocably changed. So why be surprised that God is putting you into these challenging situations and shaking what's the metaphor I'm looking for? Mixing things up. Anyway. Right, I've gone on for long enough.